Alright, so sorry we had a little technical difficulty there. But yeah, so I said there's two levels now of controlled opposition. You have the top level, which is basically the old guard, whether we're talking about Republicans and the political, or we're talking about the evangelical movement, the new, it's getting old, but the new evangelical movement. You have that top level, and the evangelicals are catering to the Roman Catholic Church, while the Republicans are catering to the Marxists. And basically they have, three doctrines that I've seen established for the political groups, or mixing it, we'll call the truthers. In the evangelical circles, you have the post-tribulational ideas, which basically, if you have post-tribulational people who think we have to go through tribulation, they all think they're going to go through the Great Tribulation. The Great Tribulation is supposed to be 7 years. They've got records of Anabaptists who were post-tribulational in the 1500s, and they were saying, well, this is it. Okay, well, it's been 500 years. That's a long 7-year tribulation. All right. It is to cause panic, to get people focused on building bunkers instead of evangelizing. Okay, that's basically what happens there. And of course, the New World Order view is post-millennial, where we build up a one-world government and a one-world church and things like that. But they also would emphasize amillennialism to just get the whole eschatology thing out of the way and interpret the Bible symbolically. The answer, I believe, is in a pre-trib dispensationalism. I am working on it. I haven't really got it all together as I have with some other projects, but basically I call my view a Davidic dispensationalism, where you have a split between the tabernacle of Moses and the tabernacle of David, and that reaches through. Basically, the tabernacle of David would go into the kingdom of heaven, and with that, the kingdom of heaven, what we have is that we have the spiritual group that is not tied to the Mosaic law. And so basically there will be a revival of that in a certain way during the millennium for the people of Moses, as they will have to repent of their sins and accept the Messiah as prophesied in Zechariah 12. But basically, when it comes to this stuff, the rapture takes away all of this threat and all of this idea that I need to build a bunker. Okay, I don't need to build a bunker. I need to witness and evangelize to people as much as possible. But also, I am able to think ahead, and if certain centuries proceed, then I want to kind of get that ready for the next society. So basically, what we see with the controlled opposition to the truther movement, you have post-trib, you have neo-legalism. They're pushing the law and trying to get people distracted from the gospel. And there is an inherent conflict between the law and the gospel. You cannot save society with the law. The law can destroy evil elements of society, but society is by nature evil. So that will never work. We need Jesus to actually save us and rebuild society and all that kind of stuff. But the Catholic Church has learned to use other movements instead of its own for a direct fight. So they've used the Hebrew Roots movement to do that. And then we have the flat earth theory. Now, what's going on is that in order to have a stable movement, as we're about to be oppressed by the progressive / communist movement, we have to have opposition. And so in order to have opposition, you need to have unity. You can't just have people divided and figure they'll win the day. That's the problem with the Civil War. You know, the loose confederation doesn't have the unity. And you need to, when you have people who have different opinions, you need to convert them over to the one opinion. From the many, one, e pluribus unum. Well, you have people in the truther movement who are not Christian. And a lot of them have humanist presuppositions, but humanism gives way to socialism. Okay? Freedom doesn't do anything in the secular context. I get to do what I want, get drunk, but you can take drugs. You know, I mean, you do all that stuff, and what happens? Okay? Well, what happens is that these people fall apart, and their institutions fall apart. Then they need what? A communist. They need the socialism to come in and take over their lives. So, we need to have a unified understanding of nature and humanity. And, of course, we need to get that from the Bible, but we need to also deal that when it comes to our educational institutions. So, they needed something. The old guard offered intelligent design. And with intelligent design, it was an impotent creationism. It just, but there's a God somewhere. It all looks and designed. And it failed. Intelligent design has failed. Why? Because there was an institution in step with a lot of power, and they were giving up presuppositions to humanism. You know, as long as you believe in the geologic column, which you have to read the textbooks because you can't dig it underneath the earth. You won't find it from digging, okay? But as long as you believe that, then you believe that all these animals came about at an evolutionary time period. So it kind of looks weird to say that, well, yeah, they all just leaped and God just created each individually at the time that you would use for evolution. No, that don't work. So, you know, you have to go with creationism. Well, that sounds great. We got a creation science movement. Everything's going to be fine. But as creationism has gotten bigger, it has become infiltrated. And what do they do with that infiltration? Well, they take a distorted philosophy, which is Van Tillian presuppositionalism, and they say, you know what, the Bible's true, and everything we have is confusion. So, you know what, we don't agree with evolution, but we're not going to offer any solution. So, you know, most of the time you see Answers in Genesis working just as hard to debunk their former ideas as they do to go along with evolution ideas. So what you have there is you have evolution saying this is true. Then you have creation saying, well, I don't have an answer for you, but I just don't like what you say. I'm just going to believe on faith. Well, you just stuck it right back to where it was. So basically, and I don't have a problem with presuppositionalism as a philosophy. Just the Van Tillian type is the problem. Well, there's maybe one or two problems with just regular presuppositionalism. Because you have to have a connection with science at some point. And kind of say, alright, science is not absolutely true, but science works, and since it works, we have to have a scientific theory that works. And so I worked hard and I developed something. I developed it before, you know, a lot of these flat earth videos came out, but unfortunately, I'm one guy who's really poor. Okay. I've done what I could do right now, and I'll probably do some more research, and every time I do research, I just find more evidence for what I'm saying. But I developed a cosmology called New Year's Cosmology Hypothesis. And you can check that on my playlist. I've got something called New Year's Cosmology Class. And in there, I go piece by piece, and every major scientific issue I've reconciled. I mean, whether you talk about geology or biology or whatever, all the big problems we really kind of just went through, okay? And I basically give you kind of a summary, but it's all pretty thick. The whole thing is about 13 and a half hours, but I got it divided up so you can watch it like you're watching a Netflix series, okay? Into 24 classes. And basically, then I apply it to how do we understand politics and freedom and all that kind of stuff. But the flat earth theory, it's anti-science. And the problem is that when they say, okay, well, flat earth is true, and they say, what about these facts? They say, the facts aren't real. The facts are a conspiracy. Well, you can argue one or two things, but conspiracy theory doesn't establish truth. It just establishes an ad hoc reality. In other words, the evolutionist is going to give you their ad hoc answers. And they come up with ad hoc answers that are not grounded in reality. And then the flat earther goes, well, I got an ad hoc conspiracy that'll explain away what you just explained. But the problem is that you have to deal with facts. The flat earth theory does not want to deal with facts. Now, they can argue some things. They can argue geocentricity. Well, New Year's Cosmology does adhere to geocentricity, but it is bigger than that. It answers more questions than that. So, with mine, it adheres to the geocentricity. It agrees a lot with the electric universe. But it also does other things, dealing with, like, let's say, the whole idea of scientific reality. Is it just that there's all these laws of science and forces that are creating everything? Well, the problem is that the laws of science are only a description. They're not really the substance doing it. So why is there something doing it? Why are there different chemicals with different chemical compositions that are doing things? Why are there energies like gravity and magnetism? The weak force, the strong force. Where's the why? Okay. There is no why. So that's why atheism is stupid, because it doesn't have a why. Why was there a Big Bang? Why isn't there another Big Bang? How do we know? How do you know that science is operating under the exact same set of laws? Maybe you go to a different galaxy, and if you really went over there, you find out there's different laws. Because you can't explain it. You say, oh, well, I'll add some laws of science, and that's what they've done. They've altered things as they went along. But the problem is they never had the truth, so why would they have the truth now if they didn't have the truth then? So, New Year's Cosmology is going to explain all the major issues with this. And it's going to show you how the flood happened. And it's kind of a naturalistic explanation. You could probably pretty well just function with that. But it also is going to match reality to where, how would Noah know to build an ark? Okay, naturally, Noah wouldn't know to build an ark or how to build an ark. So how does that happen? Well, he received information prophetically. Oh, so there's a supernatural God involved. So basically, all this stuff is going to enter into reality there. And it's a sad thing that they pushed that, but the flat Earth is a psychological operation. I've even seen flat earthers admit sometimes when they're like, okay, well, since I'm truther, I'll also say, okay, our big argument here didn't work, and our big argument there didn't work, and yeah, Hollywood did kind of push all this stuff. I mean, some of these YouTube videos are just you don't have the money to come up with these graphics. So the flat Earth, to get the kind of graphics and stuff, would have to have Hollywood And obviously, who's hiring Hollywood to do this? Well, we got this military operation. We got a psychological operation. And so basically, it is a controlled opposition. Um, and, when you got, Neil deGrasse Tyson arguing with rapper B.O.B. about flat Earth, there's a problem. Okay? This doesn't make a lot of sense. So basically, when you go back to it, we're being controlled. We have to stop being controlled. You have to go deep. You have to have a deeper worldview. You have to have a Christian worldview. You have to really have a biblical Christian worldview. I usually focus on those basics, okay, as opposed to trying to make everybody agree with every doctrine. I want to get those basics first and establish that foundation. So I developed something. I'll link it to the blog, but it is basically a list of great books. Like in college we had this class called Great Book Seminar, and it will, basically piece by piece with all these different great works from all these different people, okay, not just my opinion, but with all these different works to help us to understand the true concept of reality. And while you might want to go to tech school, okay, to actually really, get classes that really help you to have a good career, you don't need college to find yourself, okay? You want to find yourself, look in the mirror. But otherwise, you check out the books of the American English School, and that's what I've called it. The Catholic schools, they have their Latin schools. The Jews have their Hebrew school. The Eastern Orthodox have their Greek schools. So this is the American English School, those for Free Church Congregational or Baptist groups in a worldview that will help them to deal with the issues of their religion, the issues of their philosophy, and the issues of their science and stuff like that. And all brings it all together, in politics as well. So glad to hear you. We'll see you later.